Happy Friday to you, Mr. H here with you. It's been a fun week, it's been a busy week, and best of all, it kept me off the streets. Hey, how you guys doing, man? Just another glorious day in paradise, isn't it, huh? Just smile, nod, and pretend everything I said is absolutely true. Don't worry, man. It's going to get better. You're one day closer to whatever it is you wish to accomplish. Hey, today on Planet Earth, we're looking at a book I read over the week called Red Army. It was written back in 1989. Guy named Ralph Peters. You see him every now and again on the news programs. He's one of those talking head kind of guys. FMR says former whatever. I think it was a colonel at some point. So this is an interesting book. It's about a Soviet invasion of West Germany, late 80s, and how he thinks it would have gone. It's not exactly Red Storm Rising. It's a little bit different because this book is unique and that's exclusively from the Soviet side. So that's kind of an interesting take on the whole thing. And you get a really good idea of how the Soviet army in the late 80s operated, or at least was supposed to operate. And it's kind of an interesting conclusion. Maybe I don't agree 100%, but at least it's logically thought out, which is better than I can say for that Harry Turtledove thing I tore about a couple weeks ago. So, this book takes place in the northern part of West Germany. You see up here where it says the Dutch First Corps and German, West German First Corps and the British First Corps. You got the Danes up here. This is where most of the action takes place in the book. Now, why does it happen there? Well, that's actually their easiest opponents. Yeah, I'm not trying to, what they call it, uh, throw shade, all right, at the Netherlands, Belgium, and British, and what used to be West Germany. But let's face it, man, it's not the U.S. Army you're fighting against. I mean, it's a whole different story. You're fighting against Americans, right? Now, down here is where the Americans are, south part of Germany. Down here where the mountains are. So if they want to try and slam their way through the mountains against the U.S. Army that's been sitting there since 1945, training on that ground, they're not going to get very far. And they know they're not going to get very far. In fact, they're not planning on it. They plan to get about right here, keep the Americans pinned down so they hit with everything they got up here and go all the way to the Rhine. Up here it's a lot flatter. And like I said, the opposition isn't as tough, but there's a couple things I think Ralph forgot about, mainly because Germany is one of the most urbanized places on the planet. You'll see when we get there. Now, here's a map here from the book. I did a pretty good job on this. You can actually read this thing. So here we are, the first Western Front under General Malinsky in the book. And you can see, what do you notice here? Yeah, I see canals, I see rivers, I see a lot of towns in this place. So it's kind of hard to fight your way through Germany, even if everything is working the way it's supposed to work. Now, it's just not going to be easy because in this book, believe it or not, the Soviet Union wins. Yeah, they win a 3-day war. They smash their way through. They get to this line over here, you see, just west of Hanover here. Right, they get there, and when the rest of the Allies are thinking about, nuking the front end of the Soviet forces here, Germany decides they don't want that to happen. They surrender and the war's over. Now, in the book, the Americans aren't happy about it, but they withdraw, and they say somewhat prophetically, how do you, what if the Americans don't regard this war as over? I mean, what if there's an Asian Pacific phase, which would have been a great sequel? So I don't think they would have won this thing in 3 days, but that's the book, and it's really great from a tactical level. You see everything, how the Soviet army operates with stuff in front of it. Like I said, I don't think it would have turned out this well for them, but it's still a very interesting book, and it is well thought out. Now, when people look at stuff on a map, right, they always see the lines, and they think it's something like this, even in a contemporary setting. I'm going to let you in on a little secret here, okay? This is not the 7 Years' War. You don't line your tanks up like that and start taking shots at people. I mean, because they're going to know where you are, and those tanks get turned into some expensive scrap metal awful fast. Now, in this scenario, a Soviet attack might look something like this. They're coming straight at you in column. You hit the first guy, the other guys come around shooting at you. They have to come at you in a column. It can't be a line, because even if you form lines, there's another line behind it, line behind that, you just formed a column. So they're coming at you in a column, and it's going to be in that line. Now, they know, in the book, they even mention this, the Soviet leadership knows that they're going to lose some people in that front end. All right, that's what NATO's waiting for. You're going to see a lot of this. Wreck tanks, and they've already told everybody, you push the tank off the side of the road. Don't wait for the engineers, you do it yourself. And don't try and pull anybody out. Just pull the tank out of the way. So imagine how many people like screaming or whatever when this thing's being pushed out of the way, right? So that's a bit of a problem. And like I said, the Soviet forces in this book win it in 3 days. They get west of Hanover, somewhere before the West Germans throw in the towel, and they close the rest of the way to the Rhine without a shot being fired. I can't really agree it would go that way. Even at its worst, if NATO is, disorganized and everything, here's something I think Ralph forgot about. Right, urbanization. Remember I mentioned earlier, Germany, then and now, is one of the most urbanized places on the planet. Now, you can try and surround a city and then go after and keep going west, but there's so many cities. And if there's an intact force in that city, they're going to jump out and attack you when you're still going west. You got to turn around and take care of this thing. And if you go into the cities, this is what's going to happen, especially a tank-heavy army like the Soviet army back then and the Russian army today. See the Ukrainian thing up there? So this is a picture of a Russian, could be Ukrainian, tank that got hit in an urban area because, look, there's so many ways to shoot at a tank from here. Where's the shot coming from? No idea. Looks like it came from from what looks like my left side here. So I don't know. It looks like they got hit, and you have no idea where the shot came from. And then when you hit that one, there's another shot coming somewhere. So it's very hard to secure an urban area, especially in the modern day and late 80s, early 90s. It looks like the book took place. Now, let's go even further back. Let's go 450 million years ago. What do you find? All kinds of stuff that is not good for you to be around. We have the horseshoe crab. It's been around 450 million years ago. That's Ordovician period, man. So they've been around largely unchanged. We have fossils and they look just like a horseshoe crab because it's a horseshoe crab. It hasn't changed any. So the horseshoe crabs are always cool. When I go to the beach, Jersey or NC or Florida or someplace, I take a look. I see horseshoe crab every now and again, and I always think this is exactly what this thing looked like in the Ordovician period. This is what this thing looked like in the Cretaceous era. So it looked like in the Pleistocene, and it still looks like that today. Something to be said for consistency. That's how it scurries around, right? So it looks like a crab. Yeah, no kidding, pal. It's a horseshoe crab. Also, it's kind of a spider look to it. Well, it's an arthropod, so what'd you expect? I like these claws over here, man. Somebody designed this thing great. Now, do you know that people use horseshoe crab blood for medicine? I mean, vaccines, and people have trouble with blood clotting, hemophilia. So it looks like horseshoe crab blood actually helps with that, and it's blue. Isn't that strange? Now, I have been assured that these animals are allowed to recover before they send them back to the ocean. All right. Now, like everyone else in this country, I don't trust government agencies too much, so they better not be lying to me. If I find out you're lying to me, I'm going to find you. And I'm Greek. I can go from 0 to 100 like -3. So you better send them back to the ocean. Make sure they're healthy. Here they are in a natural environment, hanging out there on the beach. These guys over here on the right look like they're playing football or something. I don't know. Gang tackling one of their friends. That'd be an interesting to see, right? Football game of horseshoe crabs. Writing that one down. Now, what about that Super Bowl we just saw last week? All right, Chiefs trying to be the first team to win 3 in a row, and they just got destroyed, man. It wasn't even close. I mean, it's officially 40-22. They got one there at the end, make it look sort of semi-respectable. But they just got ambushed. Remember, I told you 2 weeks ago, watch out for people from Philly wanting revenge. If they'd played somebody else, they might have won. They're not the only team that's gone to 3 straight Super Bowls. And a lot of people in Green Bay were kind of upset. And I'll tell you why they were upset. Because the Packers won the NFL championship in 1965. Mr. H likes seeing the uniforms get dirty, but this one's pushing it a bit, right? Playing out there in a mud pit. They won the NFL championship in 1965. The Super Bowl came along in 1966. Yeah, so they missed by 1 year. So they win the NFL championship in 65. They won it in 66 against the Cowboys. And then went to this Super Bowl thing, Super Bowl I. Nobody really knew what it was. All right, so Super Bowl one, the Packers beat the Chiefs 35-10. I like this picture over here on the right. Look at the empty seats. Why the empty seats at a Super Bowl? Yeah, nobody knows what it is, right? I mean, Super Bowl one. They called it a NFL AFL championship. They retro named it Super Bowl one a little bit later on. That's always interesting. So that would have been two in a row, but like I said, didn't have a Super Bowl yet. And of course, Super Bowl two in Miami, they knocked off the Oakland, at the time, Oakland Raiders 33-14. So you got three straight championships, but they're not Super Bowls, all because of when they invented the Super Bowl. So in 1965, who won the AFL championship in 1965? That'd be the Buffalo Bills. Could the Buffalo Bills in 1965 beat the Packers in 1965? That'd be kind of interesting. I tried to run a simulation and it kept coming up with the Packers, which makes sense, but you know, computers don't measure heart, luck, and on occasion, abject stupidity. You know, the Miami Dolphins went to three Super Bowls. Yes, they did. The first one they went to, they got crushed by Dallas, 24-3. They're in New Orleans. Yep, the only team never to score a touchdown in a Super Bowl until 2018 when the Rams matched that. I don't know if you can call that a record or an achievement, but yeah, they didn't score one either. So the Dolphins made up for it the next year, Super Bowl VII, by knocking off the Washington Redskins 14-7. And that was the year the Dolphins were undefeated, untied. The only time this has actually happened in NFL history. That's two in a row, but they lost that first one. They made it to a third one. Yes, actually, I just like this picture. And that's just an awesome picture. Got the arches back there, Roman kind of look to it. Mr. H, get those Greek and Romans in there, right? See some empty seats there, too. Anyway, I just think it's an awesome looking picture. Anyway, as I was saying, Super Bowl VIII, Miami and Minnesota. Minnesota never stood a chance. Miami just plowed through them. It's at Rice Stadium, Houston, by the way. Yeah, it's still there. And the Dolphins, three in a row, but remember that first one was a loss. They would lose the following year in the playoffs to Oakland. Well, I know someone's saying, hey, Mr. H, didn't your Steelers win back-to-back Super Bowls? Yeah, we did, and we didn't get to that third one. We're not going to cover it because it's simply too painful. Oh, speaking of painful, all the way in 1990, we got the Buffalo Bills go to Super Bowl. Not one, not two, not three, but four times in a row, and it just kept getting worse. Super Bowl 25, an epic battle, even though the Bills lost with a field goal at the end, wide right. It was still an epic battle, nothing to be ashamed of until they found out this inspired Ace Ventura. But other than that, it was a game that you could have been proud of even had you lost. But it's okay. We'll get you back next year. And that's right, they're back the next year playing against the Redskins. And despite several questionable officiating calls against the Redskins, Buffalo still gets crushed, man. It says 37-24. It was actually 37-10 until the end. They got two touchdowns there at the end. I guess they were trying to make the game competitive. I don't know. But the Redskins just totally destroyed them. They're Washington Commanders these days. Well, they went two in a row. Maybe three is the charm. And there they are in Pasadena against the Dallas Cowboys. And they stand no chance at all. They get completely crushed 52-17. But the thing everybody remembers is the idiot right here on the right, Leon Lett, trying to run with the ball, holding it out, dancing, gets slapped out of his hands. Could have broke the record for most points. Nope, you had to. Well, they did win a Super Bowl, so I guess we could let that go. Buffalo, three in a row, three up, three down, man. It's not the end of an inning. Could be end of a franchise. You think that's bad? Oh, no. The nightmare continues. Buffalo goes a fourth year in a row. 4 years in a row. Super Bowl 28. Same teams, same result. Dallas wins again, this time 30-13. I think they got tired at the end from beating up on Buffalo. After that, I think Congress is passing a law not to let the Bills anywhere near a Super Bowl. This is in Atlanta, by the way. So 4 times they went there. That's a great accomplishment. You would have thought by law of averages they would have won a game. It'd been nice to have beaten Dallas. That's all we ask for. Just beat the Cowboys one time. We're fine with it. Not asking too much. Asking too much. It's going to take a long time before anybody can go 3 times in a row. But all the way to 2022 is where the streak began. We didn't know that. Some people suspected it. Super Bowl there with Arizona, one of the best ever, where the Chiefs won, right? Super Bowl 57 over there in, not, I almost said Sun Devil Stadium, sorry. Over there at the Toaster, right? Over at the time it was University of Phoenix Stadium, was the State Farm Field now. They keep changing these corporate names. Chiefs won 38-35 against Philly. It was actually a very good game. Following year in Las Vegas, Chiefs win again. They beat San Francisco 25-22 in overtime. 2 in a row. Can they get 3? We watched the whole season. Everyone asking. They kept winning games. It's usually close, but at least they're winning. And they show up in New Orleans for their 3rd Super Bowl. And Philly is waiting for them. And Philly crushes them. No hat trick in Super Bowl 59. Ironically, Philadelphia gotten destroyed there in Super Bowl 15 in the same stadium back in, what would that be, 1981? 80 season, January of 81. So I guess, some sort of redemption there. But, yeah, Chiefs just got wrecked, and that was the end of that, man. So everyone's wondering what happens to Chiefs next. They're going to do what everyone else does. Take a break and try to win it again next year. The Eagles already talking dynasty. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. All right. Steelers. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. But we're going to figure something out. My first thought is to put the refs on direct pay, PayPal of some kind. We'll see how that turns out. Haven't heard back. I don't think I'm going to. You guys have yourself a fantastic day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Das vidanya.